la situation à Jérusalem-Est. Monsieur Schenker, vous avez la parole.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's an honor to be invited to participate in the committee meeting. I'd like to note that I actually live in Tel Aviv, which I consider to be, and most Israelis really consider to be, the true capital of Israel. But I am also in East Jerusalem 3 or 4 times a week because that is where the offices of the Palestine-Israel Journal are, so I'm also quite familiar with the situation on the ground in Jerusalem. And I'd like to, first of all, quote Nachum Barnea, is probably Israel's most influential political commentator who writes a weekly column in Yediot Achronot. And he recently wrote the following: Jerusalem is very big in the minds of the Jewish people around the world, but in reality, it is very small. The fact is that of the 15 largest cities in Israel, West Jerusalem is the poorest. It's the poorest of all of the cities. It has major problems, not only on the Palestinian side, also on the Israeli side. We published a special issue of the Palestine-Israel Journal on Jerusalem in the eye of the storm. This was published in 2011. And in that issue, we had a special section in the cultural section of a group of artists, Jewish and Arab artists, who call themselves anonymous active artists. They put pictures, posters on the walls around the city of photos of young Israelis and young Palestinians. And under the photos of the young Israelis, of the young Palestinians, it said the word in Hebrew, expelled. Under the photo of the young Israelis, it said the word leaving. And the reason why they're leaving, and this reflects the fact that the younger generation of Israeli Jews, particularly the non-ultra-Orthodox one, the more secular or pluralistic ones, want to live in a more, first of all, they want work. There is a major problem of employment within Jerusalem. They want a more open society, and what you have in West Jerusalem today is an increasing influence of the ultra-Orthodox on just the life patterns and lifestyles, so they are heading more in my direction towards Tel Aviv and towards the coast in general. At the Palestine-Israel Journal, we have had, since 1994, our first issue was published in January of 1994, we have published 4 issues devoted to Jerusalem. Every issue has a central theme, and the fact that 4 have been devoted to Jerusalem reflects how central it is to Israeli-Palestinian relations. When Ehud Olmert was the mayor of Jerusalem, he invented the slogan in the 1996 election campaign, "Paris will divide Jerusalem." And this was one of the slogans that helped to enable Netanyahu to defeat Peres in 1996. When Olmert became prime minister, he signed on to the idea that my colleague Ziad Abu-Ziad just mentioned in the Clinton parameters, that the Jewish neighbors of Jerusalem should go to the Jews, the Palestinian neighborhood should go to the Palestinians. When you ask Israeli Jews, are you ready to divide Jerusalem? If that is the formulation, they will say no. However, if you ask them, if you formulate the question differently, if you say, are you ready to give Sheikh Jarrah, Wadi Joz, Bet Hanina, Shoafat, Jabal Mukabar, Silwan, etc., to the Palestinians, the average Israeli will say, that's not the Jerusalem that we think of. That can be for the Palestinians. So there is a basis still if it is formulated correctly. As far as the old city is concerned, most Israelis would support the idea of a special international regime for the old city, which would include the UN, the 3 major monotheistic faiths, Jordan, Morocco, etc., provided that the access for Jews to the Western Wall, and to the Jewish quarter of the Old City was guaranteed. We prepared a special policy paper at the Palestine-Israel Journal together with the Friedrich Ebert Stiftung, which is called Jerusalem Still Key to Any Future Israeli-Palestinian Agreement. It was the results, the summary and the recommendations were the result of a roundtable discussion with 5 prominent Israelis and Palestinians, and there were a number of basic principles that came out of that roundtable. The first one is that Jerusalem remains a key factor concerning the future of Israeli-Palestinian relations and Israel's relations with the Arab world as a whole. But current Israeli policies, as Ziad mentioned, pose a severe threat to the possibility of resolving the Israeli-Palestinian conflict by political means. Second major principle was that the Israeli government and the Jerusalem municipality are continuing to create facts on the ground that form obstacles to a solution. The third principle was that the response of the Palestinian Authority and the PLO to these developments has been fragmented, disorganized, and inadequate. And the final principle, which I think is very important to mention here at the United Nations, is that the international community and the UN agencies should play a crucial third-party role in deterring unauthorized Israeli measures and in fostering a climate of dialogue towards a peaceful resolution of the conflict and to the future status of Jerusalem. And also, the humanitarian situation of the Palestinians in East Jerusalem must be addressed on humanitarian grounds. There are more specific recommendations which appear in the paper, which you can see on our website, and I also brought 10 copies of the policy paper, which hopefully you will be, which Julian has. I don't know where you are. Yes, okay, and so they are here, and they are will be available. And just to conclude my brief comments, Jerusalem remains, as it said, as was the title of this policy paper, a key to any future Palestinian-Israeli agreement, and we need all of you to be involved in helping us to get there. Thank you.
Je remercie bien sincèrement nos 2 invités, messieurs Zayed Abou Zayed et Hillel Schenker. Excellences, mesdames et messieurs, les histoires les plus poignantes sont mieux racontées par ceux qui les vivent au quotidien. Nous avons la chance aujourd'hui d'avoir 2 sommités, M. Abou Zayed et M. Schenker. Personnellement, j'ai beaucoup appris de leurs exposés et je suis convaincu que toutes les délégations ici présentes également ont beaucoup appris. Mais enfin, l'occasion est bonne pour leur poser des questions. Et s'il y a des délégations qui souhaitent faire des commentaires ou poser des questions à nos invités, je pense qu'ils seront disposés à y répondre. Y a-t-il donc des délégations qui souhaitent réagir après leur exposé? Il semble que non. Indonésie. Ambassadeur Desra Perkaya.
Mr. Chairman, first of all, thank you very much for inviting